All right, I think we're ready to get started again. Rain is going to be showing us how to set up a RDO OpenStack cloud using RDO-manager.
Hello. Just realized that I don't have notes access, so I'll wing it. This is my Twitter handle and obviously the RDO community Twitter handle, and I would ask you to tweet me questions, comments, snide remarks, but also definitely involve the RDO community handle, because that's how we can tell if my talk was impactful or not. So welcome. Okay, so I realized in telling people about RDO-manager, because full disclosure, I'm with Red Hat. And my name's Rain. Yeah. That you probably would need to know not just about RDO and RDO-manager, which is my thing, but also about O, and then what's OpenStack, and then my brain kind of melted, because then what if people don't know what cloud computing or open source is? And we probably have people who get that, but just in case, we're going to talk about it. So now for the interactive portion of this. This is our definition on rdoproject.org, which is infinitely better than if you go to the RDO-manager page, which is just a reference to RDO-manager, O, and Spinal Stack. So what's Spinal Stack, what's O, what's blah, 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 blah. Okay, can I do this? Okay, great. So my first question is, what is OpenStack? And this is the interactive portion, so I would love to hear from you guys.
Open hybrid cloud.
What is OpenStack, besides a massively spaghetti flying spaghetti monster of doom project with all these moving parts and amazingness? Anyone have a...
That's about it. You already said it.
That's it. That's it. Thank you. This talk's going to be way shorter than 25 minutes. So it's open source, creating your own private or public cloud. It's pretty open and shut. If you have, do you have any questions based on this definition? Great. So then what's open source? Does anyone not know what open source is? Is anyone intimidated and doesn't want to admit they don't know what open source is?
Sure.
So at first I was going to compare Red Hat and Microsoft, but then Microsoft started doing open source software. So my example became KFC and Red Hat. Does anyone not know what Kentucky Fried Chicken is? Great. KFC is proprietary because it won't share its recipe. Red Hat would love you to become a contributor with RDO-manager or O or OpenStack. What is cloud computing? Also, this is an introductory point. Yeah, lots of. Okay, now it gets fun. Deployment and management, which is the key part of RDO-manager, the actual process of. There's something wrong?
Do you want us to see this slide? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So deployment and management is planning, designing, actually putting your cloud out there for private or public use, yada, yada, yada. That's what RDO-manager is. Do I want to say that? Yeah. Is about. So then who can tell me what is RDO since we're in an RDO room? This time I'm not talking until someone else answers.
This shared site is ridiculously dedicated to OpenStack.
It's Rich's distribution of OpenStack. That's what the shared
Yeah,
says.
that also says.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Do me a favor, everyone introduce yourself to someone that you don't know in the room right now.
Hi, I'm Rich. I did, yeah.
Tell them what you're working on. Staff, Fred, or Okay, so now that we're used to talking a little bit better, what is RDO? RDO is Red Hat's version of OpenStack. It works on CentOS. Woo, CentOS! And it works on RHEL. What is OpenStack OOO besides this really boring, I already fell asleep definition up on the board? OOO. This is where it gets fun. Nobody? OOO? Is there anyone who contributes to the OOO project? Crap, I know you guys. No, I don't know you. Hi. Hi, I'm Rain. What's your name?
I'm Frederick.
Frederick?
Frederick. Yeah.
Tell me about what you do on the OOO project.
I help a little bit put some bit of spinal stack in OOO.
Oh! Ta-da!
What was spinal?
Yeah.
Yes. So I put is, but I get the impression based on how Spinal Stack kind of became RDO that it's more of a was. Would you like to comment to that?
Is it a myth or does it exist in the past?
Yeah, exactly. Does it exist now? Can you contribute towards Spinal Stack, or do they just go no, go to RDO?
Yes, it's more.
It has disappeared.
It has disappeared. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so RDO came from Enovant's purchase, who made this awesome version of OpenStack, their version of OpenStack. It has everything that we want in Red Hat, including. And Spinal Stack became RDO. So now that you understand the working components, do you have any questions? So then what kind of, by the way, this would have been in my notes on the first page. This is not a lab, and the reason it's not a lab is because it would take you way longer to actually do the installation and whatnot than we have time. If you would like to have a lab in the future, please let me know. And I also like to give you a background of where the project comes from, and before I get to the nitty-gritty of details and requirements and stuff like that. So the bare metal machine, nested KVM is not supported technically, but this is one of those projects that it could come and technically you could hack it, because just like in OpenStack you can tweak it to do anything you want if you have the patience. But at this time, RDO-manager does not technically support nested KVM. 1 quad-core CPU, 12 gig, 120 gig disk space, and that is because your verts, what? Oh, yeah, there. because you're making 3 verts, so each of them gets 4 gig of memory, 40 gig of disk space, which is why the bare metal has to be 3 times the requirements. This is for RHEL or CentOS. I'm sorry, Debian, Ubuntu, etc., etc. So then we get to the fun stuff in which I need a chair again. So we have installation by hand and go to the user guide.
Excuse me, Rain.
Yes.
Before you lose me, could you tell me what an undercloud is, what an overcloud is?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Okay, so this goes back to OO. You have OpenStack on OpenStack. And the idea is that you use the undercloud is your as your management of the overcloud, and I don't know where the name comes from besides being good for mentality's sake, but your undercloud is going to be your basis for managing your actual deployment and whatnot. So that's why you have an undercloud and then a controller and a compute node. Do you want me to go into controllers, computes, heat stack details?
Basically, undercloud is the small restricted OpenStack cloud, which is reusing the same components as you are using for OpenStack for provisioning virtual machines. So if you say Nova is spinning up a virtual machine, you can say it's very similar process for spinning up a bare metal and provisioning the image, also using the ironic there. So it's very similar concept. We are using Glance for storing images, for provisioning and these stuff. So we are reusing OpenStack components. It's called undercloud, the management layer, and the overcloud is the actual deployment cloud.
Okay, so if I as a service provider, want to get more capacity, install more physical machines, more hypervisors, I'm updating the undercloud.
You are using undercloud to update your overcloud, more compute or whatever.
Yeah, you would be telling it. You would be telling the overcloud where the new physical systems are.
Got it, thanks.
The undercloud. I should probably actually do this at some point, but the. Well, I won't say that. I won't say that. Never mind. It's for a later. It's a later comment. Any other questions? Feel free to just.
RDO-manager requires undercloud, or is it like just for this kind, this setup, this testing?
Say that again.
RDO-manager requires undercloud to function, or is it the requirement for this particular testing experiment?
RDO-manager is the undercloud.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense? Because it's based on OO, OpenStack on OpenStack, it's the actual double OpenStack format. RDO itself, do you have to use RDO-manager?
RDO is the overcloud layer. So you're
Yeah.
using RDO-manager as a deployment and management tool of RDO. So RDO-manager is sort of equivalent for PackStack, but in larger scale. So you are actually not having everything in one node in the end, but you are splitting it into multiple roles, into controller plane, compute, and storage planes.
Yeah, but you do need the undercloud to be there before you start working, or you can work in just generic setup without the undercloud, with just your machines.
RDO-manager is the undercloud, so you don't need it.
So you first deploy the undercloud, and then use the undercloud to deploy the overcloud.
Yeah.
And that's only if you want to use RDO-manager.
So you could consider the undercloud like an appliance you use to install.
In theory, you can drop the cloud later, right? And the overcloud will still work, but it won't allow you, to expand.
Yeah, my question is like, RDO-manager is more like a puppet tool which deploys deployment services, more like a quality of the thing in the undercloud which allows you to work with this undercloud.
I think of it more as a puppet tool.
But not only, Puppet is a small part of
Yeah,
Yeah.
very, very big.
Yeah, it's a small aspect of it for deployment purposes, but yeah, I
But
think
it's
that's
really,
fine.
really more complicated than fuel, which is quite simple. No, it was a joke. For the mere enthusiasts.
I fully encourage you to
Great one, Erwin.
speak up at any time. This is more of a discussion.
So do you think the naming is good for these things like undercloud and overcloud? Do you think it makes sense to a person that doesn't understand the concept?
Apparently, it seems to be confusing.
It's
Based on the discussion.
based on our conversation today. Maybe not. Maybe it's not as good.
So if we find some time, I can share it.
Yeah.
Do you add that to the RDO-manager website?
I think it's
Yes.
there at the
Yeah.
triple
At the
documentation.
level, yeah.
It is there definitely.
Hatch is
But-
welcome.
But yeah, actually that's a great comment, is that going back to the open source and contributing to open source, contributing to documentation is a awesome way to help contribute, and in my humble opinion, it shouldn't just be on the O side, it should also be on the RDO-manager side to have that graphic.
For sure, the thing is just not to duplicate the stuff, because the
Fair.
O is the upstream project in OpenStack. RDO-manager is packaged version of it.
Yeah, yeah,
That's good information.
yeah.
But yeah, but not only
There are some few more repositories which are not in OpenStack upstream, but in general it's mostly just packaged version, right?
So, this is the other part why this is not a lab, because I wanted to go through this quickly. This is the RDO-manager documentation for actually doing an installation. One of the things I love about it is you can actually specify your content. You could have every single one of these enabled, and then the documentation will give you all of that information. But if you wanted to get simple and just see what you're working on, you can disable things. I'm personally going with CentOS and disabling portal satellite because I don't want to deal with registration and, well, if you don't have a license, then that makes that part a little bit more difficult. This is a virtual environment, and I'm taking away Ceph because it adds a level of complication that I don't need to deal with. This is for people who want their own private cloud. Maybe you're new to OpenStack, or you are want to contribute to OpenStack, and therefore you want your own private cloud, or you want to experiment with the second laptop that you have. That's what this is for. So it's really just this is your, if, oh, okay, please hold. Right. Dun, 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 dun.
It's not working for me as well.
Awesome. That would be an awesome thing to happen right now. So there are three aspects to environment preparation. Install the undercloud, deploy a basic overcloud. And once you have defined you've limited your environment specs, it's really just a matter of following the documentation. It even gets very specific if you are specifying a separate node and whatnot. This is one of the points where it's RTFM. Read the manual is pretty valid, and if you run across something where you're confused or it doesn't work, please hop on Freenode, pound RDO, and ask us questions. I'm Leander, by the way, on Freenode. Hey, so we are skipping that section. Awesome. Okay, so that's how you install my hand. I specifically do not in this talk go over deploying basic overcloud because it involves you need to upload your images to Glance and set up a DNS server and whatnot. So all I was going to go over today was the first two, the environment preparation and installing the undercloud. And one of the reasons that I wanted to talk about those and not necessarily the third step is because you can get really specific about deploying your overcloud and customize it and skip the DNS section altogether if you wanted to. There's all kinds of ways to hack that, all kinds of paths once you've done the first two. The first two are non-negotiable. And again, this is for RDO-manager, not RDO. The other reason I wanted to just do those two is because we're working on a little script called O Quick Start, and it will come into RDO-manager, and this script does those first two steps, so you don't have to, which is pretty awesome, and we would love if you would like to contribute to this particular Quick Start script. Even though it says Red Hat OpenStack in the name, it's still completely open source. And then because this is for developers, I left some links in there so that when I upload the slides, you could set up your own Python environment. Do you have mostly Python developers in here, or everything? Oh, okay, shortest talk ever. Do you have any questions, comments, or snide remarks for me? Yes.
So I've heard that deployment of the whole thing takes like hours. Do you plan to work on that?
That is
it's
part
not
of
usable for
exactly.
development.
So the deployment side of it is the long part. The installing the undercloud takes about, depending on your internet.
What happens during this
15
time?
to 20 minutes
Yeah,
from the scratch.
it's kind of reasonable. And that includes prepping the environment. It does not include actually installing CentOS or RHEL.
What's happening in all this time?
It's downloading packages and whatnot. What the script does is it sets up your non-root user, it makes sure it's SSHD, it makes sure that the networking is correctly configured, actually installs the undercloud. Yeah, it's mostly packages, bring in packages. Okay. So the goal with O Quick Start and ultimately RDO-manager is that it will do a basic deployment as well. But the basic deployment is then dependent on other projects for time sometimes for coming in from different, because you have Neutron, you have like Flying Spaghetti Monster of Doom, OpenStack. So we will then have to go out and talk with people and see if we can streamline things. But right now, it's only the first 2 sections, and therefore it's super fast there. But that's a goal.
So what do you aim?
Ideally, very simple, based on the CI, just a controller, a compute, and heat. But we could talk about that if
I mean,
you have.
time-wise, like.
Oh, time-wise? Well, right now it takes hours.
Oh, not hours.
No,
1
hours.
hour maximum probably in CI for basic
If
deployment.
you are running in a virtual environment, compute and controller one, it goes from 30 minutes to 1 hour.
I would love for it to be around 30 minutes. But we'll see. Let's see what we can do.
Have we ever thought about providing the undercloud as an appliance, as a VM appliance? So we don't have, so we can skip the whole undercloud installation, or we can just.
We are working on that.
Yeah,
It's on the roadmap on the upstream, and we are working on providing the whole undercloud in a VM. So you can actually really just take a VM and start dealing with your overcloud configuration.
Yeah, because that would make the whole process look simpler. Because right now, I mean, that's what makes the process complicated. You have to deploy the undercloud, then create a JSON file based on whatever magic you can create, and then deploy the whole overcloud on top of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's also a goal. How else was?
Isn't AAA quick start in your work by downloading VM images, so you kind of do skip along the same?
Yeah, exactly. That will be the next step. It's part of it.
Could we please show the picture of the diagram actually?
Oh yes, I have. Wait. That was part of the issue actually of why how I didn't have internet. Ooh, do I have internet? I have internet.
It should be back up now.
It's back.
Moving back to where we were.
Oh my god, it's working.
Huh. Yeah, that's super tiny. Yeah, that doesn't get any bigger. Ah. There. It's not a very good graphic. This isn't the one you have, is it?
No, I have a different one.
Yeah, the one in OO.
Just show it later.
Yeah, if there will be some time, I'll just connect.
Yeah. So this is pretty simple. It's just you have CentOS installed. You create a non-root user. It gives you. Does it actually give me my? Yeah. It gives you examples and whatnot. I'm not planning on going over this and reading it to you. You guys can read. But all the links are in the slide.
So. There's some talk on the mailing list a while back about an RDO-manager quick start.
That's what Triple
Can you tell us about that and what, at what point we'll be able to do 3 commands like we do with PackStack?
So that's what we're doing, and part of the reason we're working on upstream is because RDO-manager comes from OO. So if you want to contribute, a lot of times people just go straight to OO to contribute. That's what the quick start, OO quick start is. It's the RDO-manager precursor to where we can just do 3 lines, yum install, whatever. Because we obviously need to not call it overcloud, undercloud. And it'll do everything. But yeah, that's the 3-line goal. The internet is a lie.
It should be 1 line, not 3.
Yeah. It'll most likely be something like, well, it would at least have to be 2 lines because you would have to do yum install blah and then the actual commands to run it for it to be a non-invasive choice, which is what we tend to strive for in Linux land. So at least 2 lines. But I agree, as few as possible. Part of the reason why I wanted to show you these, the actual manual, is because it is very complicated and it can be very intimidating. Awesome. And that, to me, really shows the benefit of the OO Quick Start script, which is one of the reasons why I encourage everyone to actually help with that, to just test. As of 2 days ago, it was working. But it'll keep going. And so this is where it's kind of complicated, it's kind of long. If you're using DeLorean, that's in there too, but I have 0 experience using DeLorean. But we've got pages of directions here, and I agree, it should be 2 lines.
Yeah, so take all these directions and make a script of it, no?
That's what OO Quick Start is.
Okay.
So does it mean that once this quick start is ready, you just drop the manual steps? And if that's the case, then why do you call it quick start? Because the name, you could assume that it means that just for some quick tests on the installations and serious stuff is done by manual.
Well, so we're going back to naming convention, which is actually another question in and of itself, and maybe the name will be different. As for documentation and taking away this side of things, I doubt it, because there are going to be people who want to know what their the installation steps actually are.
It depends what is your use case. If you want to just play with that, 2 commands is definitely what you want. If you want to run it for production, it's a different part, because you need various flexibility and configuration. You need to know what is actually happening, which repositories you're enabling, what you're configuring. So it gets a little bit more complicated. Not saying that it's super easy to use it, but really depends on your use case.
I understand that you need to pre-configure something, but you can pass this configuration to the tool and then manage.
So well, it's not realistic.
Backstack.
Well,
Backstack is all in one. This is for larger scales. You need to understand it. It's a little bit different use case.
As soon as the Pixie environment doesn't work, it becomes much more interesting. We'll talk about it in a few.
Yeah, the next talk goes into more detail about RDO-manager. And the ins and outs.
Rich, how much time is left from the session?
Technically, we're right now at the end of this session. So.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions, comments, snide remarks? Posts on Twitter. Awesome. Okay. Thank you very much. We're probably going to take a short break to set up the next guy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so about